Compared to Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle, the press can't get that close to Sandringham. A good choice then for today's ultra-private crisis talks. Prince Harry, the Queen, brother William and dad Charles all in attendance, with Meghan apparently on speakerphone from Canada. The royals had met just a couple of weeks ago to celebrate Christmas. This, though, was a very different meeting, a negotiation even, that could have a profound impact on the future of the monarchy. After that meeting, the Queen released a statement saying that she was supportive of Meghan and Harry's decision to start a new life. But she said that there were complex decisions ahead. She also reiterated that the couple did not want to be reliant on public funds. How that works in practice is a major question that the couple have yet to resolve. The finances of the royal family are a complex affair. The Queen's finances can broadly be broken down into two funds that she draws on. The first is the sovereign grant, designed to support the royals' official business. This is money paid by the government. Every year, money generated from the Crown estate is given to the Treasury. In return, 25% of that cash is given to the royals by the government. Last year, the figure given to the royal family was £82 million. Separate to that is the Duchy of Lancaster, essentially the Queen's own private trust. It has assets worth £549 million, delivering a net surplus of £21.7 million last year. But there's another duchy too, the Duchy of Cornwall. This is essentially the private trust of the Prince of Wales, and it brought in £21.6 million last year. It's from this where Prince Harry and Meghan draw most of their money. Around £5 million is shared between them and his brother and wife William and Kate. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex say that 95% of their office is funded through the Duchy of Cornwall, and it's not yet clear whether this will continue. The other 5% comes from the sovereign grant, i.e. government's money. They've already said they won't be drawing this anymore. But the funding is even more complex than this. For example, it doesn't include security.
Well, security is the big elephant in the room. It's actually the biggest cost of the royal family. No one knows it exactly, but it's supposed to be well in advance of £100 million a year. Now, of course, if they are going to spend a large amount of time abroad in Canada and United States, then obviously it's going to be more expensive.
And more complex still, because Prince Harry has other funds. He has inheritance from his mother, Princess Diana, and is thought to have been left millions by the Queen Mother. And Meghan also has a healthy net worth. During her acting career, she reportedly earned nearly £40,000 for each episode of Suits, the drama she starred in. As Harry and Meghan look to start a new life in Canada, these are the kinds of questions they'll be looking at. If the couple continue to get funds from the Duchy of Cornwall, 95% of their current income, remember, would that be taxable in Canada?
If he's getting paid for duties that he's doing, then it would be considered, employment income. And because he's living and working in Canada, Canada would tax that. So it would be likely subject to tax. If it was just a gift, then it wouldn't be. But if it was related to any duties, then, Canada would look to tax it. So I think that's an interesting potential negative implication of them moving here permanently.
There is precedent for royals trying to earn their own crust, not always successfully.
Now, there is at least one precedent, and it's really the case of Prince Edward and his wife Sophie. Now, about a decade or two ago, they tried to run their own businesses. Now, unfortunately, they ran into problems of conflicts of interest, and for a variety of reasons, they had to close down both those businesses. So, the two Wessexes today only do their public duties, and they have no commercial revenue whatsoever.
One danger now for the royals is that protracted negotiations might open up unwanted scrutiny of the royal finances.
I think this does invite further scrutiny of the whole of the royal family's finances, but they have become a great deal more accountable in the time I've been reporting on the royals, which is some 30 years or so. If you care to go through the accounts of Buckingham Palace every year, you can go right down to how much the flowers cost, how much the laundry costs. But they do have to beware on this. This is the most delicate line that they have to tread.
The Queen's statement today was conciliatory, calm, but this has been a torrid time for the royals, a period of damage limitation in the short term, with far-reaching consequences for the monarchy in the long.
James Clayton reporting there. So what's the path of least resistance for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex? We're joined now by the columnist Kate Maltby and Dickie Arbiter, a former press secretary to the Queen. Welcome to you both. Dickie, is it all sort of sorted now? Decorum restored?
No, it's not sorted. There's a transition period, which Harry and Meghan will spend time in both Canada and the United Kingdom. There's no saying how long they're going to spend in each country and when they're going to come back here. Looking ahead, Harry has an engagement at Buckingham Palace, the draw for the Rugby League World Cup final, and that is on Thursday. Then he has nothing until May for the Invictus Games, which he is patron. And they are somewhat concerned because Harry being their patron raises the profile of the Invictus Games. And if he's not going to devote as much time as he has done in the past, is the Invictus Games going to last? So there are a lot of things.
He's still very committed to that, though, isn't he?
He is very committed to it, but he doesn't seem to be committed to anything at the moment. He just seems to be committed to walking out, spending time in Canada, and at some stage come back to the United Kingdom and do some work. His patronages are concerned. Is he going to service those patronages? And what about the Queen's Commonwealth Trust? President and Vice President, that's got to be serviced as well.
Kate, let's just talk about money for a moment, because they've said they don't want to be a drain on the taxpayer, and the Queen's acknowledged that principle. That's fine, isn't it? That's what you would expect and hope for.
That would be absolutely fine if they really weren't going to be a drain on the taxpayer. But as your package pointed out very well, all of the proposals that Harry and Meghan themselves have put forward on the website that was so suddenly put up, suddenly emerged last week, all of those still leave lots of areas in which the British taxpayer will be expected to cough up. I mean, the security is a huge issue, and I think one feels for them, because there is no way that Harry will ever be able to go to live an anonymous life. He's been born royal. He will be a target for the rest of his life. He will be a terrorism target for the rest of his life.
And the thing is, on security, that Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister, has already indicated that they are prepared to stump up some of the security costs.
Well,
whether that's going to go down.
But
what about the Canadian people?
Exactly.
Dickie, I mean, just on the money thing, I mean, will it be like Sarah Ferguson found, or the case that James mentioned in the piece about Prince Edward, that actually when you do start to involve yourself in business ventures, it all becomes very problematic and a running sore, effectively, for the monarchy? It does
become problematic because Prince Edward started his TV company with the idea that he wasn't going to do anything with a royal theme. Well, 90% of his productions, some of which were very good, but they were of a royal theme. The one that wasn't was Annie's Bar, which was a good soap. It had one run on Channel 4 and then it was ditched. Why it was ditched, I really don't know, because it had a good storyline. But you can't combine the two. It's pretty difficult having a foot in both camps, because somewhere along the line there is going to be a conflict of interest.
Okay, do you, I mean, a lot of columnists are going with the idea that Meghan effectively has been hounded out. Do you believe that? Do you have sympathy with that view? Well, that she was too much for an arch-conservative institution?
Well, there are lots of different things going on here at once. I think enough people of colour have come forward and spoken in the light of this story about their experiences of racism in Britain that it would be shameful for us to sit around here and say racism is not an issue. But I think there are other things going on as well. I think Meghan is someone who wants to have a public voice and wants to have a career of her own, and that is simply incompatible with a modern monarchy. But I also very strongly feel that she can't expect to continue to enjoy some of the perks of monarchy. I don't know why anyone who's breaking away from the royal family, as Prince Harry appears to be, can want to enjoy the title of His Royal Highness. That's a title that makes him our social superiors. It's when you meet a royal and you're introduced to your Royal Highness. Yes, it's the point that's being made is that they have been born into a social hierarchy that marks it all from us from birth. And you know, if as Meghan certainly seems to do, if you're frustrated by the conservatism of this and the inequality of this and the anti-meritocracy of this, and you want to go and be an actress or be a campaigner, then I think you should be tearing all of that up too and saying, you know what, we don't need this archaic institution.
Dickie, do you have sympathy for Meghan in this situation? I mean, obviously Harry was born into it.
I have certain amounts of sympathy. I have sympathy with anybody that marries into the royal family because they're jumping into a goldfish bowl and it's very difficult to get out of it. And Meghan probably felt very shackled because I know from my own experiences as a press secretary when I first joined Buckingham Palace to Prince of Wales and late Diana, Princess of Wales, she used to take William and Harry, walk down from Kensington Palace into the high street and show them the shop, show them the departmental store and the movie house and hamburgers. Meghan can't do that because she is stuck at or was stuck at Frogmore Cottage, was deep in Windsor Great Park, and you can't walk from there. There's nothing to walk to.
Do you think there's been racism in this?
No, I don't. I will be criticised for having said that. I mean, Priti Patel was very clear on 5 Live that there was, and she didn't believe there was racism. Yes, you're always going to get some form of racism because that is what life is all about, unfortunately. But I don't believe it was racism. I think there was bad press because they did some silly things last year. They were preaching about Carry on.
No, go on.
They were preaching about the environment and climate change and jumping onto private jets and increasing the carbon footprint.
Oh, I see. Apparently inconsistent things.
So
yes.
I completely agree that they have been criticised because they've sometimes done stupid things. Yeah. But they have also been targeted by neo-Nazis. People have gone to jail for targeting them or out on racist grounds, and I think it's important to acknowledge that.
Absolutely, but we're talking about the media. They really had a rant at the media on the penultimate day in Southern Africa, which was a fantastic tour, and they spoiled it all.
Kate, can I just ask you to wind up with quite a big thought? But it is striking that a lot of the people who defend Meghan are basically Republicans, people who don't believe in the monarchy. I mean, what
and
does
as someone
this say?
who doesn't really believe in the monarchy herself, I find that really weird. I think people really do understand, have seen that she's someone who had a life before, who had, as we in this profession, those of us who are sitting around this table, love to do, which is the opportunity to go around and have a career having an opinion and a personality and a voice. And that's been taken away from her, and people who reject that conservatism feel sorry for her on those grounds. But personally, I don't think you can have it both ways, and I think this just indicates why the whole thing needs to be torn up.
Oh dear. Kate Maltby, Dickie Arbiter, thank you both very much.